Manage your TVI on the straights. So, remember all that stuff I talked about at by Genie Point for, tricording and all that? Forget everything I said. Because everything about zero-G maneuvering is completely meaningless and worthless in Atmosphere. Two different animals. Zilch and Common. You could use some of the principles of mitigating G-forces, and only some of them, and only in certain ways in Atmosphere, but everything else is completely different. So I gave you guys 3 principles of zero-G flight. Likewise, I will give you 3 principles of atmospheric flight. Here they are. Number 1. The longer your crosshair is on your TVI, the faster you will go. Period. And I mean literally on your TVI. Crosshair TVI need to be kissing all the time. 2 is no yawing. Forget it. Don't do it. 3, decoupled only, just like the last one. I can't stress that enough. Coupled mode is not worth anything, especially in atmosphere. So it doesn't get any easier than that. That's it. Keep your TVI and your crosshair together as often as you can. Do not yaw. You're going to do it anyway, but try to minimize it. Fly decoupled. Of course, it does get more complex than that. We're going to break this down a little more. We're going to talk about why we're keeping the crosshair on the TVI and how to do it effectively. So we'll do this as I sort of fly around here. So in order to keep your crosshair on your TVI longer, you need to take your turns as quickly and accurately as possible. You need to minimize the amount of time you are in a turn and turn that into a straight in atmosphere. So whereas in zero-G, you could lengthen the amount of time you're going to take in a turn just by moving your TVI in a tricord, it's fine. In atmosphere, it's a little bit different. You want to get back on the straight path, and I mean TVI on crosshair as fast as possible. In atmosphere, that means you're going to be taking your turns in a pitch-up fashion, what I like to call aerobrake turns, even though I'm sure that's not a correct term, nor does it matter because the flight model is not correct either. Lift is meaningless, but in this case, the body of your ship does act like a great aerofoil into your turns. So turn into your turns, belly down, pitch up. Don't worry about yawing. You are rotating into the turn, pitching up, and strafing up into your turns when possible. Now, by itself, that principle doesn't really hold a lot of weight. In order to get the most out of a turn, you must get as fast as you can before you take the turn. And that leads us to how we're going to be using boost. You want to use your boost to pull out of turns when they start getting slow, maximize your speed on straights, and then for making corrections when necessary. So whereas before we wanted to use our boost for the most complicated 180 turns, in atmosphere we want to use it in the same method, but also to pull out of turns when they start getting slow and to maximize your speed on a straight before the next turn. In short, the faster you are before you do an aerobraking turn, the better, shorter, quicker that turn will be. You won't have to mitigate G-forces as much, and you'll just be faster. So that's what I mean when you want to keep your crosshair on the TVI as long as possible. In order to do that, you must minimize the time you spend in turns. And to do that, you got to be going fast, and to go fast, you got to keep your crosshair on the TVI. It all wraps up in each other like an Ouroboros or whatever. So that's the principle there. Try to keep your turns concise, and we'll demonstrate here what that means. Got to plan ahead. Plan ahead with your boost. Plan ahead with how you want to approach your turns. Take it as tight as you can. Let's see if I missed any points there on that. I don't think so. When you're not turning, I know I say keep your TVI and your crosshair together, but I'm serious when I mean like laser focused, right? Your hands are going to cramp up. Sorry. You just got to deal with it. That's the price to pay for going fast. I mean, you really got to get that close to that dot. In some cases, in some tracks, it's going to be extremely difficult. But the better you are at doing that naturally, the better off it's going to be. And by the way, you're going to be strafing up pretty much all the time. Because you're in decoupled, your ship is going to constantly want to go down. In some ships, you can sort of cheat and get away with it with gear down, but in others where the wings fold up, you can't. The wings are part of your lift profile. You have to put the gear up, and so you will constantly be drifting downward. You gotta strafe up to compensate. Get used to it. You're gonna be doing it for a long time. And again, the better you are at it, the better at controlling that TVI, the faster you're gonna be. You're gonna be faster than your opponents. You're gonna be able to close distances and escape better than they are. We'll go into detail on rule number 2. No yawing is pretty self-explanatory. Don't do it if you don't have to. That said, you're gonna have to sometimes. You know, especially when you're learning, you're gonna be doing it more than later. Try to keep your nose away from obstacles. You know, if you can't do it in a rotator, you just do it with a yaw. But every time you do, keep in mind you are slowing down. There's no way around it. Anytime you yaw in atmosphere, especially deep atmosphere like this, you will slow down. You have no lift profile on the left and right sides of your ship at all. It does not help. You have to rotate in your turns and pull up. Even pitching down into a turn is far better than yawing into a turn. And rule 3, of course, decoupled sucks. You know, that's it. Deal with it. All right? So that's the principles of atmospheric flight. Pretty self-explanatory. There's a lot of technical nuance to how you approach your turns, and that's the most important part. Choosing the right ship, knowing the track. Do you guys have any questions? That goes for everybody out on Twitch, of course, too.
There are people that do coupled flight in Atmo successfully.
Successfully, as in like world record breaking times. No, there are some rare exceptions though. Extreme lengthy tracks like the Yahoo Mahi Ring, which is essentially flying through all 4 of the construction platforms at Orison. You're talking about a track where 1 lap takes 3 minutes in a Herald. That's a track where you're actually okay in coupled mode because you literally aren't turning that much. Decoupled is there to give you the max performance acceleration in a turn. Without it, you can't do it. You can't get as fast as other people. But you could be okay coupled in things like a Drake Herald on the tracks that allow it. But most of the time, and I'm talking the vast majority of the time, they're off decoupled. Roma asked, do I use the keybind to swap yaw and roll? No, I don't, but I've heard that does give you great success in these situations. If you have, you know, good control of your roll in both space and atmosphere with, like in my case, I have a Z-axis for my roll. That's my right stick there. You can see it. That's fine. But yeah, there is a keybind. You could swap your X-axis with your Z-axis for roll, and that does give you more precise control. Some people swear by it. I personally don't. You have that option in this situation. Would I recommend it for combat? No. Because it's still worth it to have that extra control in your yaw when you're in combat. You just want to try to minimize it as much as possible to stay on top of your opponent. What's up, Durzin?